Hey guys, I'm Combat Craig, and today I'm going to show you how to check the status of your VA claim. Going to walk you through some screenshots, and there's a link to these screenshots in the description if you want to follow along. So this works if you're wanting to check the status of your VA claim, or if you filed an appeal, like a higher level review or supplemental claim. This same process works. This is how you get in and see where things are. So the first thing you do is you log into your account. So you can use DS Login, My Healthy Vet, or ID Me to log in. If you don't have an ID Me account, you should get one of those because there's good discounts on all sorts of things. Like Apple uses ID Me, Oakley uses ID Me. There's a lot of them. Those are just two to name a few. And you get, 10% discounts or whatever. So get an ID Me account if you don't have one yet. So anyway, log in with one of those 3 items and click the submit button. Then most likely you're going to have two-way authorization set up on your account now. If it is turned on, you have 2 options. They could text you or call you. I do all my stuff on a cell phone, so they text me the code, and this is what that looks like here. Get the code via text and then put it in and hit the submit button again. And then it may ask you to confirm your phone number. If that's the case, you might want to confirm some details. Confirm the details because you're filing a VA claim. They're wanting to make sure they can get a hold of you. So there's things that you want to make sure you have. You want to make sure your address is updated because they're going to send you to a CNP exam and you don't want them to send the FedEx package to the wrong address. Or when you get your decision letter, you don't want that going to the wrong address. So make sure all your information is updated so communication is good. A lot of people make mistakes, get denied because they have the address wrong or phone number wrong or some information's wrong. And when we don't respond because we have the wrong address, the VA is going to go on without us. And a lot of times that just leads to a denial. Make sure you're up to date. Once you log into your account, you can go to disability and check your claim or appeal status. Click that link. Then you go into the claim review page and it'll tell you when you filed your claim, what the status is. Some statuses might be evidence gathering, review, and decision. That's probably one of the longer ones. So if that's the status and that's what you see, it's a waiting game, right? This is a big government bureaucracy. So you file a claim, I would expect to wait 5-6 months. So if you go in on month 3 and it's in evidence gathering, and then you check back later on month 5 and it's still the same way, that's totally normal. And then if you're checking on an appeal, it might say something like a senior reviewer is taking a new look at your case. So those usually go faster, but again, I would probably just give it 3-4 months. There's nothing you could do to speed them up. There's a little button on there that says make a decision now. That's not going to speed it up either. The government works at the speed that it works at, and that's just the way it is. So make sure that you don't unnecessarily go into the appeals process or file an incomplete claim with no medical evidence because that stuff takes longer. Also, when you file a claim, you could pack as many disabilities in there as you want. If you only file a claim for 2 or 3 disabilities, that's going to go faster. Prove your claim. You need a current diagnosis, current symptoms, and a nexus for each thing. When you make them look for everything or include a lot of unnecessary medical evidence, they're going to read through all that stuff. And, what would you rather want to look at? Look for a current diagnosis, current symptoms, or a nexus on maybe 5 to 8 pages, or you upload like 1,000 pages for the last 10 years. That brings me to another point. This is a current diagnosis. So current means now, or maybe the past 6 months, year max. So if you're providing medical evidence from 1972 to 2023, they're not going to look at anything beyond 2022 because it's a year. So it's current diagnosis. So send as little information as you possibly can. It will speed up the process, and don't file a claim with too many disabilities jammed inside there. There's 2 things that you actually need to know about and take action on after you file your claim. Your CNP exam, you have to attend it. Don't blow it off. You'll get the info, study for your CNP exam, go in there and tell the doctor what's going on and make him a believer. That's how you deal with the C&P examiner. You don't need to check Google reviews. You don't need to wonder if he's sketchy or not. None of that matters. The VA hires the C&P examiner, paid for by the VA, to evaluate us. So go in there and be evaluated. And then after that, it could take a week or another couple months, and you'll get your decision letter. That's when you could take your next step. It's kind of a game of basketball, if you will, right? You start off, the ball's in your court, on your side of the court, in your hands. This is where you provide the medical evidence you need to prove your disability: current diagnosis, current symptoms, and a nexus. The nexus is important, just like the symptoms and the diagnosis. So you have to figure out how you're going to establish service connection, and then you need a doctor to write your nexus for you. Any doctor will work that's qualified. So your VA doctor, private doctor. So once you have your medical evidence, you're ready to go. Current diagnosis, current symptoms, and a nexus. You don't need anything more than that. If there's some supporting documents in the last 6 months, a couple visits to your doctor, that's okay to upload, but you don't really need it. The VA will find all that stuff. And they have a lot of messaging in VA.gov about the status of your VA claim, but none of that matters. You know, it doesn't matter to me if it's an evidence gathering or they made a mistake or Sally sent it to Jim for clarification. And there's all sorts of things they do in the process, and it's like request 1, request 2, request 2 closed. All this stuff shows up. All that is irrelevant. We shouldn't even see that stuff because there's nothing we could do on it except for it kind of trips us out. Check your status as little as possible. I'm telling you, 5 months, 6 months, that's a good time frame. You don't need to check, every day. You're going to do it anyway, but you don't need to. Don't be surprised if it's taking a while. Remember, this is like in a national queue, and there's thousands of veterans, and the PACT Act kicked in, so there's way more claims to adjudicate now, and there's a backlog. So 5-6 months, that's how long it's going to take. At the bottom here, it says, ask for a claim decision. Should I check this box? No, you shouldn't check it because you provided everything you need, and the VA is going to decide what they want to decide when they want to decide it. So by you clicking this button, that doesn't speed anything up. It puts a little note in your file saying, yep, there's nothing else I need to upload. That's basically what you already did, right? You filed your claim with all the evidence. There is nothing else. You submitted a fully developed claim. You're good to go. Here's a couple other things to think about. So if you provide medical evidence for each disability you file a claim for, it's going to make it go faster and increase your chances of winning tenfold. So there's 2 ways to do this, and I've done both, and I didn't know there was 2 ways. So one way is just file a claim. You saw something in your service treatment records. You think you might have been seen for it by the VA, but you're not really proving a diagnosis because you never even actually saw a diagnostic code. You don't know what your symptoms are because you've never really seen them. And you definitely don't have a nexus. So that's one way to do it, but that's not the best way to do it. I'm not saying that you lose all the time that way. It's just not the best way to do it. The other way is to front load your claim and provide all that stuff so you can see it. All right, here's my diagnosis. It's got a ICD-10 code right next to it. You could clearly see there's a diagnostic code, a diagnosis, and a condition. And then on like a DBQ, you could see where your symptoms are. You could see the check boxes. Now you have your symptoms done right. And then you can see the nexus. You write down, and there it is right there at the end of the DBQ. The doctor says, in my professional opinion, combat Craig's tinnitus is secondary to his migraines on at least as likely as not basis. It has a nexus statement in there and how the doctor thinks it's connected. Those 3 things are what you need. More medical records is not better. They don't need 10 years because they're not going to look at it. They need current medical evidence. That means right now, from the date you file a claim to 6 months to a year back. Beyond that, they're not even going to look at it because it's not current. So if you submit all sorts of medical evidence for the past 10, 15, 35 years, whatever it is you've been dealing with this, you're literally bogging them down with info and telling them to spend an extra, 40 hours wading through all your stuff that they don't even need to look at. The most important thing is, you could file a claim and you could jam as many disabilities as you want to file in there. So you could file a claim with 2 disabilities or 1 disability or 100. When you're getting your decision letter, and if you're not too familiar with this process, you're like, whoa, 14 things on here. This one didn't have a nexus. Did this one have a diagnosis? Like, it's so much to keep track of. You have to sell 14 different stories. If you get bad decision, you have to go wading through pages and pages of stuff. Keep it simple. File a claim for 2 or 3 things. You understand, I got depression, I got migraines, I got tinnitus. You go in, you study for your exam, you nail your exam. If you don't like the decision, it's easy to figure out how you can appeal, and then you move on. If you have more claims to file, more disabilities, then do it again afterwards. File another claim, when the first one's adjudicated, and then add 3 more things. It's easier to chop it up in chunks like this. Let me jump in here real quick and tell you about my boot camp. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my boot camp. You can talk to me live. There's a link on the website and in the description, combatcraig.com. And also, if you need medical evidence like a nexus or documenting your symptoms properly, go to our website, combatcraig.com, and it says medteam/nexus letters. Click on that link, fill out the form, boom, you're done.